next up, we are going to talk about this past weekend's NBA All-Star game. There's a lot of reactions coming out of the All-Star weekend. They changed the format of the game to try and spice things up. They did away with the traditional game and they made it a round robin tournament, in which they included the Rising Stars as a part of the festivities. So there were, a total of three teams that played. No, four. How many teams was it? Was it four?
I think it
Charles,
was
Kenny,
four.
Shaq. It was four teams. Four teams competed on Sunday. The Rising Stars, and then three teams drafted by Shaq, Candace Parker, and Charles Barkley. Or no, because Kenny Smith had a team too.
Yeah, so it was Kenny, Charles, Shaq. Kenny,
Oh,
Charles.
Candace Parker had the Rising Stars team. That's what it is.
Okay.
That's what I'm messing up. Yeah. So yeah, it was four teams because Candace Parker's team was the Rising Stars team.
I mean, that's how dumb this is. We got to sit here and try to do math on it.
Yeah. So, and they did a round robin tournament to try and spice things up because the All-Star game had been a disappointment for the last several years.
Yeah.
And then, obviously there's just the fanfare for the event overall is just kind of dwindling. The Saturday events are kind of dwindling. So they tried to spice things up there too. And, the 3-point and the dunk contest and all of that good stuff. But people are kind of giving their grades for how things went. And some people are saying it is what it is. Some people are saying it was great. And some people are, of course, trashing it, saying that it sucked. But, all relevant links, of course, that we use for this video will be in the description of this video once we publish it. But I'm not going to go through this entire article here. But this person who was a writer for Yahoo, Ben Rohrbach, he basically went down the line and talked about winners and losers of the new format. And you can see he felt like the NBA was the loser overall. Briefly, he said, we probably should have known it was headed that way when Anthony Edwards was asked about the exhibition's new format and said, I don't really know too much about it. He did not participate in the 14 tournament, talking about Anthony Edwards, nor did LeBron, neither allowed the league time to field a replacement. Draymond Green was doing commentary for TNT, and some of his comments were, it's just who can run faster, who can hit more threes. There's no substance. Green said on Saturday of the sport that has paid him in excess of $250 million over the life of his career, I think is very boring. So that's Draymond talking about how boring it is. He said that it was ridiculous. He said that it sucked. He said on a scale of 1 to 10, he felt like it sucked. He hated the format. He felt like it did a disservice to everybody who was actually voted on as an all-star. So yeah, just a lot of talk about how the NBA just kind of really wet the bed again. He said that the winner in this situation was the G League, largely because the winner of the dunk contest was a G Leaguer, Matt McClung, who has now won this event 3 years in a row. So who would have known that the person who was going to win the dunk contest 3 times, let alone 3 times in a row, isn't even somebody who plays in a league. It's a G Leaguer. So this Matt McClung guy, he won the dunk contest for the 3rd time in a row. People were kind of sharding on that, as well as the field of dunkers. This guy also said that Oakland was the loser for various reasons. And so just all across the board, he felt like the dunk contest was very anticlimactic. While Matt McClung's leap over Ikea might have represented the single greatest dunk in the contest history, and while Castle's behind-the-back windmill 360 made the competition close, the event was again a dud. It needs star power. There is no question about that. It cannot be understated how quiet Chase Center was, as Buzelis and Jackson repeatedly missed dunks that some legitimate star may have made look easy. Sure, in the aftermath of McClung's 3rd straight victory, Ja Morant, who was watching from home, and Giannis, who was sitting courtside, threatened to enter the dunk contest next year. So here's Ja Morant saying he might enter, and then Giannis, quote tweeting it by saying if he gets into it, if Ja gets into it, that Giannis will get it too. We'll get into it too. You can take that for whatever it's worth. Yeah, and then this guy said the 3-point contest was a winner. In my opinion, the 3-point contest has become the best event in the whole weekend. In my opinion,
I agree.
And I think it's been that way now for at least 5 years.
Which is sad.
Yeah. But so there you have it, bro. So, a lot of people have differing opinions on how this whole thing took place here. What do you make of the All-Star game, bro? And do you think there's a fix of it? And if so, what?
First of all, let me start off by saying that I thought that the All-Star weekend was absolute dog trash, dog garbage, or dog shark. All right. It was just absolutely the worst thing. It's progressively getting worse. I saw because I didn't actively watch it because they're not gonna get any of that support. But I guess if I watch YouTube clips, they're getting some type of metric report. But I still looked up the thing because I'm not gonna sit there and waste my hours. I got better things to do. I remember Saturdays, bro. Saturdays used to be everything for me, bro. The dunk contest was everything. And now, bro, it's like, oh snap, it's All-Star weekend. I'm just mad that I can't do my typical gambling throughout the week because nobody's playing anymore. That's what I'm getting upset about. But then I take that time to just not gamble and chill. So I'm not watching it like I used to, and I don't think a lot of other people that were in our cohort and older are appreciating this new generation of garbage that's going on right now. From the level of effort of the players to the color of the court to these ridiculous formats that they're doing right now to try to get these players to do their jobs. It's all annoying to me, and I think it's annoying to everybody. So, of course, I do not like this format. The first year where they switched up the format, where they was doing something a little different, I think that was the COVID year or whatever, if I'm not mistaken. It was something around that time. I think that was I don't know, but it was around that ballpark, George Floyd-ish type of thing. So it was either 2020, 2021, but they switched up the format where they were actually playing for like some type of charity or something. And, they were playing, I think they were playing to a set score then. I don't know what was going on, but, that was the most competition I've seen in an All-Star game in a while when those guys did that. I think that was an idea that Chris Paul came up with or some jive like that. But ever since then, I think that one splash in the pan gimmick, after that, those guys said, I'll never work hard again. The same guys get voted in, whether they play games or not, which I think is ridiculous. That needs to change. I think we have to actually have real all-stars in the all-star game. I think the qualifications to be considered an all-star need to change because if you only played in 15 games, you should not be a starter in the all-star game or anything else like that. So there's quite a few things that need to change, but overall, the thing that I think overall the most that needs to go or that needs to improve is the guys' level of enthusiasm for the game. But you can't just wave a magic wand and make these guys want to play more games, be more enthusiastic, and take the privilege that they have of earning millions of dollars to dribble a ball and travel around the world, and and just take advantage of that in the right kind of way. Put smiles on the people's faces that's actually paying for tickets, not opting out of an all-star game merely hours before the game starts like LeBron did. Because those people out there that bought those tickets just so they can see Steph and LeBron, and now LeBron's like, oh, my foot hurt, y'all. We know your foot ain't hurting. You on that new juice. You never get hurt, bro. But now you hurt now. I think it's Caparis, man. And so I think it's a lot of stuff that plays into why people are just overall just shrug their shoulders and go, hey man, this is trash. Last thing I'll say is that dunk contest, bro. I mean, look, and this is no shade on Mac McClung. Okay. Because I was there for the YouTube videos when the boy was in high school. All right. So I was seeing this boy dunk in high school. So, he was 5 foot nothing back then. So I know the boy got hops. I know he can do his thing. But his dunks, they shouldn't really count. The ones where he's like literally just leapfrogging over the person and using the ball as the leapfrog, I think that's cheating. That's like using a step ladder. That's like using a trampoline. Like you shouldn't be able to do. Yes, did you jump over a car? That's impressive. I'm not taking up and finish the dunk. These are impressive things, but I would not be impressed because it was like, are you going to jump over? You're going to use somebody else's body leverage to jump over something else again? Why don't you just jump over something? But he can't do that. And I don't blame him. He's only 5 foot nothing. But this is where we're at, where Mac McClung using other people as his prop to just jump, to leapfrog over them. There's no difference in grabbing their shoulders and jumping over. Like, what are we doing here? But there's like, oh, people mind blown in the crowd. Oh my gosh, straight 50s for that. But this is where we're at. What do you? If that wasn't a 50, who's going to get a 50? So yeah, I agree, man. I feel like the Stars not wanting to participate in the dunk contest, it's ruined it. And again, that's no shade on Mac, bro. Because if I was able to, even in my prime, and it was like, okay, you could do jump off. No, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So it's still impressive in itself. But I still think that 3 times in a row, I think for a G leaguer, I think that's a joke. So overall, man, I feel like the whole weekend was a loss. I don't think there were any winners besides myself for not watching. But what are your thoughts, bro, on this NBA All-Star weekend? Do you have any winners? And you have any losers? You had anything that you actually feel encouraged about going on in the future? Or do you feel like this is a product that's slowly but surely dwindling away? What are your thoughts, man?
I do have one winner, and bro, we did win. Tyler Hero won a 3-point contest.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, we got that.
We got one, bro. If it's one thing the Heat know how to do, is win 3-point contests.
We know how to develop.
Yeah, we between Tyler, Daquan Cook, Jason Capono, we be winning these 3-point contests. That's so right. Shouts out to all of the Miami Heat players that be holding it down when it comes to the 3-point contest. That was the bright spot for me of the whole thing, was a 3-point contest. I'll just speak from my perspective, and if I'm speaking from the perspective of an old person, then I guess I'll just speak from the perspective of an old person. One thing that the NFL gets right that the NBA doesn't seem to have figured out is the NFL is able to pinpoint what no longer works and just pivot from it, get rid of it. Once the NFL realized, okay, the Pro Bowl is dead. Like, there's no more fanfare. The players treat it like it's backyard football. Nobody cares. Nobody's trying. We don't want to really see pros playing flag football, 2-hand touch below the waist like that. So they got rid of the game itself, and they just made it the Pro Bowl games where they do those little gimmicky games now. Throwing footballs through tight windows and tire, holes through tires and all that kind of stuff. The little games that they play now for the Pro Bowl, but they got rid of the game because fans had enough. And of course, the players didn't want to do it anyway. So the league got rid of it. The NBA seems to be beholden to traditions, so much so that even when something is clearly not working, they just can't seem to separate themselves from it. And I believe that they can't seem to separate themselves from it because they don't have a plan in place for what to transition to. I think one of the last NBA topics that we talked about, I forget what the subject was. It may have been the in-season tournament, or maybe, I don't remember what we were exactly talking about. But you talked about how one of the criticisms that you have of Adam Silver is his propensity for being reactionary instead of being proactive with implementing innovations for the NBA. So it's always something that the NBA does in reaction to people complaining or the media complaining or players behaving in a certain kind of way, as opposed to being able to foresee something coming down the road and developing a concise plan to be able to kind of figure it out and pivot, so that once the pivot is needed, you can make the pivot and without it seeming like you're doing this a minute, too late, essentially. And I do think that that's the NBA's problem. And I do think that that's what's happening with the All-Star game. I think that they know something needs to change, but they don't know what to change it to. They need to, this is going to sound crazy and radical, but the NBA needs to hire NFL people to help them figure out the right way to foresee changes in the future and then come up with plans to pivot to account for those changes, so that you're not having to do stuff on the fly. because this whole round robin tournament was something that they came up with on the fly
Disgusting.
to entice players to care more.
You can't
And
do that.
and that brings me to what I think is that brings me to what I believe is the central issue with the NBA right now is caring. Unfortunately, the NBA's core issue is something that I don't know if you can fix. I don't know how you make people care. This is what we, this is my central issue with. This is why I am suspicious of DEI's effectiveness, because how do you can't legislate desire. You can't create rules to make someone care. Like, caring is like an intrinsic quality that is it's sort of baked into the soul of a person. Like, people like Jordan and Kobe cared. So it's an unspoken thing. It really isn't. It's an intrinsic quality. And what I think is going on now with current generations and future generations of NBA players is because the direction that the league has gone to, the caring, the intrinsic caring of players has been removed from them. Like, they show up in the NBA basically looking at the league as a job. They look at it as I show up and I punch in, I'll work out and I'll do my thing, and maybe I'll work out during the off season. But don't ask me to care about fans. Don't ask me to care about the sensibilities of fans. Don't ask me to factor that into my approach to playing games, because I'm giving you what I want to give you. You should be thankful enough for that. Like, a lot of these guys' mentality is, if you get 60, 65 games out of me, be thankful for that, because I don't even have to give you that. I can get hurt. I can, if I want to miss time, mental health, or because I need my DNP rests, I'm gonna take that. And if you don't like it, tough luck, because you need to be grateful for what I am willing to give you. Whereas I believe in previous generations, players really did feel as though being in the league was a privilege. Players today feel as though being in the league is a right. And there's a difference between those two notions, privilege and right. I think a lot of current players look at it as a job, and I earn this, and it's my right to do whatever I want. And I think that toxic mentality has seeped its way into the All-Star game. And I'm not talking about players who are 25 and under. It's the current crop of players, 30 plus.
No, bro. Like, it literally started with our cohort.
It did. It started with our generation. Of course, yeah. Because the All-Star game itself hasn't been good since, I want to say, I was in my early days in college.
Yeah, dude.
Like, it's been bad since the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
It hasn't been good.
Yeah.
So it's a mentality of caring and really believing that you're privileged to be here. And when you're privileged, when you feel as though you're privileged to be somewhere, you don't take it for granted, and you're going to maximize every opportunity that you can to put forth the effort to show that you really do feel like you're privileged to be here. And I feel like players now feel like it's a right and not a privilege. And I don't know how you fix that. I don't care how many in-season tournaments, I don't care how many round robin rising stars implementations of the All-Star games. I don't care how many of these innovations you implement. It's not going to intrinsically make somebody care. Because if you are somebody who intrinsically cares, you care before they did all this in the first place. And that desire to care isn't going to go away if they change it or go back to an old format. So the league has its work cut out for them, because I don't know too much about baseball or hockey, but I do know that when it comes to the NFL and college football, they don't have to deal with this existential crisis of speculating whether their players care or not. Mm-hmm. Like, those guys care. They want their money, and they want to be famous and stars, and they want to take their liberties too. But at the end of the day, those guys care. Mm-hmm. And when you have that element of caring, it raises the stakes, and it shows people who are the paying customer that their appreciation is worth providing to the game. And the NFL is, the league right now, the NBA is dealing with this existential threat of players not caring, and I don't really know how you fix that.
Yeah, and I hear you, bro. I think what needs to happen is sorry if I sound like a slave owner, but no more guaranteed contracts. There needs to, in the next CBA negotiations, that has to be something that the NBA is just not going to. They're not going to bend on that. So everybody that did have their guaranteed contracts, so yeah, y'all gonna get grandfathered in. But every contract from this point going forward is not guaranteed. And because the reason why I was so hell bent on these guys getting guaranteed money is for when they have like career ending injuries or something crazy. So I would have that be one of the stipulations, hopefully you don't get Ben Simmons, where they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't perform. And it's just like, nah, man, you can't perform. No, I can't do it. And so give me my 55 million, whatever it is. But I would say if it's a career ending injury, then that's when you got everything that you were going to make, what I'm saying, or possible to make, then you got that, because that was my only thing. Like, hey man, what if the guy XYZ happened? What if he blew a knee back when knee injuries was the worst? It's still bad, but it's not career ending anymore per se, But it was like, hey man, this guy blew his knee out, and now the organization's dunking on him. Now he ain't got no, this guy would have made X amount of $1 million over the next few years or whatever, but now he can't. So in situations like that, I feel like, it should be something written in these contracts or whatever, however it works, where these guys are still taken care of after that. So if you still had 3 years left on your contract, you're gonna get that, But after those 3 years, bro, you're screwed. But that's better than back in the days where, oh, you're screwed now.
Yeah.
So so guaranteed contracts, no more of that. Incentive based in situations where all accolades are incentive based. So if you're first team NBA, now you're going to get X amount of money per, a percentage more on from your salary, whatever your salary is, you're going to get that much more that season, something like that. Whereas like, hey man, I want to be first team NBA. Well, in order to be first team NBA, you're going to have to play X amount of games, and you're going to have to blah, 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 blah. And then, you qualify for that and then whatever. In order
But here's let me ask you this though, because I believe that it's bigger. Here's what I think is really, this is why I say existential threat. Because everything that you're saying sounds good and everything that you're saying makes sense. But my belief is players now, some of them still do, but I would say that there's a lot of players who look at the league, they look at this as like work. So in saying that they look at it as work, I don't even really think they care as much about things like all NBA.
Well, I don't think. Well, that's what I'm saying. There are some guys that do, right?
Yeah.
But the overwhelming majority of them, I would agree with that they don't. But their money isn't guaranteed, so they still have to play an X amount of games. Now, so there's a weird thing going on where the team, which they still do now, they can DNP you to death, make sure you don't get whatever. But you got to put yourself in the right situation. You got to make sure you're not getting DNP. You got to make sure you show up to work on time. You got to make sure you don't miss the flight. So there's certain things that you got to do and be a professional. And so these guys won't get paid. The reason why they act like babies is because they know they got $53 million coming in this year, whether they play or not. Now you try motivating that guy to get out of bed. You try to tell Zion to not eat burgers anymore. If he knows he's going to get 40 something $million, whether he plays or not. Today I'll feel like Zion. And he made 300 something $million farting and eating chips.
I just get a feeling that even if you did that, let's say you get rid of the guarantees and the contracts become more of a prorated deal. Players are going to be like, all right, well, I'm gonna just do what I need to do to get my prorated, not prorate. Players are going to be like, all right, well, I'll just do what I need to do to get what I am getting coming. What I do have coming to me. Like, I just think that overall there's a general whateverness with a lot of these guys where they're just like, I don't really care.
Well, you're gonna see, you're gonna see that. So
Yeah,
that is the existential part that we can't do nothing about.
yeah,
But one thing that
yeah,
we can do is get these guys to go, hey, that $53 million isn't guaranteed. Actually, you can walk out of this season only making $3 million. So the choice is yours. You
yeah.
want that 53 or not? Well, what do I got to do? You got to play. You got to play 75 games at least to make $53 million. They'll do that.
I
I
hope
swear they
so.
would.
I would hope so. I
I
hope
swear they
so.
would, bro. They would be, because these games that these guys are missing, the soft tissue and stuff like that, or load management. They ain't gonna do that no more.
I just think that yeah, I guess the money is a good component. You're right. The money is a big component because I really just look at most of them and they're millionaires. And for the guys who are single, they get whatever woman they want. They're celebrities, they're stars. They can move however they want to move. And I just think it's created an apathy within them. And that apathy is manifesting itself with the way that they go about their playing career. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not the money is a part of it, but it's just the culture around the NBA. And it's this it's this mentality that they've adopted when it comes to basketball players of you say that the reason why they act like babies, I agree with all that, but they're treated like babies.
That too.
They're given whatever they want.
That too.
And they're given whatever they want since they were in middle school.
Right.
Especially some of them are millionaires in college, depending on who it is. Like Cooper Flag is already making like $4 million this year to play at Duke. So a lot of this stuff when it comes to these basketball players has jumped the shark. And I sometimes am concerned that we've reached the point of no return. But I do hear what you're saying in that perhaps a good place to start is to sort of dial back the exorbitant amounts of money that they have been receiving, not because they are being paid too much. I'd never say that. But when juxtaposed to their contribution to playing, it becomes too much.
Agreed.
It becomes too much. So I do hear you on that.
Last thing I say. So imagine if you're running an experiment or an experiment or something. You have like a mouse inside of a thing, and it has to press this red button or this lever 82 times in order to feed itself for that day. And then so that thing is going to learn to do that, and it's going to hit it that many times to work in order to get that feed for the day or whatever. Then now that option is still there, but now you just introduce feed into the damn thing. So now it's like, oh, I can eat over here and I don't have to hit the button. Eventually it's going to learn. It's going to still do both because it's kind of like used to hitting that. It's been trained to do that. But once it really figures out that, well, I don't have to hit anything at all. And I can just eat as much as I want just because it's just going to be available over here. So they're just going to leave the work alone and just go straight to the money and get fat off of it. And these players, what they have done is they've along with other things, I think the guaranteed contracts is what's really making these guys lazy. I think that the Ben Simmons effect comes from, I know I'm going to make $40 million whether I play a game or not, whether I shoot a 3-pointer or not. Y'all want me to get better? I won't.
But how do you explain then? See, and I hear everything you're saying, but what's the difference between them and like
NFL players?
Yeah, because like NFL players now more and more, because like, okay, so not everybody, but any elite player in their position is getting more guaranteed money in the NFL, and their contracts seem to be rising year after year. The NFL, just when you think the NFL can't become more popular, they smash ratings, and the next year it's more popular than the last. Like every year, the Super Bowl breaks the record for most watched TV program in history. Like this year, the Super Bowl was the most watched television show ever in the history of the world. The year before, do you know what the previous show was? Last year's Super Bowl. Oh. No, last year's Super Bowl. and before last year's Super Bowl, the previous most watched TV show ever was the Super Bowl before that, and the Super Bowl before that. So every year, the Super Bowl gets bigger. The NFL it rises in popularity. It just doesn't seem to stop. And for whatever reason, and because of the rise in popularity, quarterbacks are now getting paid more money than ever. Receivers are getting paid more money than ever. Some of the teams that are valuing running backs are paying running backs at a very large amount. left tackles and all of these various other valued positions, great corners. These guys are making a lot more money than they ever did. But the intrinsic want doesn't seem to be dissipating.
It doesn't.
So that's my thing. It's like, what's the difference? Like, because I hear everything you're saying and I'm inclined to agree, but what the hell's the difference? Major League Baseball doesn't even have a salary cap. Major League Baseball has no salary cap, but Major League Baseball, to the best of my knowledge, isn't dealing with players who are like, I can't play this game today. and they're playing 162 games a year.
Oh boy, yeah.
So like, it's 162 games, and unless there's legitimate injury, these guys are out there playing.
If anything, they're juicing to play more.
So that's my question is, where are we? Like, how do we get to the root of whatever thing is going on with the NBA, where it's like we have to deal with this existential threat of a lack of caring? That's the part that I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, again, so I hear your point there because that's very valid, especially the MLB ain't got no salary cap because they don't. And those guys get dumb contracts, and those guys be out there playing.
Yeah.
And so at this point, what's your excuse, Zion? And they play 100 and something games, like you said. So Zion, what's your excuse? You know, Ben Simmons, what's your excuse? And but we're only going to see more of these guys in the NBA. And this crybaby ass thing, bro, it seems like it's only the soft boys that play basketball. You know what I'm saying? That's basically where we're at. The crybaby ass soft boys. You know, they're the only ones that's stuck to the basketball game.
Soy boys.
That's what it's looking like, man. They're giving us ball players a bad rep because that's not what we stand for.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna let the MLB people show us up. Can't have that. But they are, you know. And the NFL, man, yeah, bro. It's something about football, even though some of those guys are soy themselves. It's something about a locker room. It is. It's something about them locker rooms, man, that makes men still be men in there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of coddling going on in the NBA. There's a lot of crybaby ass crybabies. I mean, hell, you can just watch when a referee blow a whistle, how much crying happens. It's disgusting. It's an awful product. And these guys have gotten completely out of control, completely entitled, and they're babies and they're lazy. And I'm over it. There's only a handful of guys that actually play basketball for real, and they love the game, and they don't get no shine from the media. So the NBA is doing themselves a disservice. And once this becomes a defunct league in about 15 to 20 years, you know what I'm saying? No different than an XFL or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It was their fault. You know, this thing, they think they're too big to fail. You know, they keep this garbage up, you know, they're gonna be in for a rude awakening, you know. So we'll see what happens, man. But all in all, this past weekend, bro, it was just the typical disgust. Yeah. Was I happy for Tyler Hero? Yeah, I was. You know what I'm saying? Heat Nation, you know what we do over here. But everything else, man, was absolute dog garbage. So these guys can kick rocks. Adam Silver, the worst. And everybody that's that allowed this, 1,000 lashes for you bastards.
Yeah. It just seems like sometimes the players act like some of the concerns that are being voiced by like the media and fans, players act like considering those concerns it's like you're inconveniencing them. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm inconveniencing you to complain about what I'm inconveniencing you when I complain about my perceived lack of competitiveness. So like when fans say we would like the All-Star game to be more competitive, I feel like a lot of players view that as an inconvenience. You know, they look at it as a complaint. They look at it as an unreasonable complaint, and they view it as you're inconveniencing me. Like get out of here talking about we need to be more competitive. You know, I'm here and I showed up, so be thankful for my presence. Like, I don't want to hear about you wanting us to be more competitive at an exhibition game. Like, stop inconveniencing me with all of this BS. And what I'm getting at is, at the root, I feel like previous generations of players didn't look at it that way. You know, like if there were, like, I feel like previous generations of players, if there was a growing sentiment amongst fans and media that the All-Star game, albeit an exhibition, was losing its luster because of a lack of competitiveness. They would come back the next year and compete harder because they'd be like, all right, well, if y'all want to see competition, we'll give it to you. Whereas, now the current crop, our generation and younger, they're looking at it as an inconvenience. Like, get out of my face with all of that complaining. Stop whining and just enjoy us when you can.
That's not like they're doing me a favor by going out there to play.
That is what they believe. They believe that their gift, they believe that their presence is a gift. Like, they do believe that, like, they're doing us a favor by playing whenever they want to play.
Yeah, nah, man. They ain't kick rocks, bro. Basketball is the only sport where the guys hate playing it. They just hate it. These new guys hate basketball.
But why are we even having this conversation in the first place is my question. Like, why are we even talking about this? Like, the fact that whether you think that people's complaints about load management and players' apathy, sitting out games, complaining about the All-Star game, whether you think that that's overblown or not, the problem is that people are talking about it in the first place. So whether this perception is real or imagined, there is truly an issue with the fact that it's a conversation in the first place.
Exactly.
So you need to rectify that. Whether it's real or imagined, people feel this way. People feel this way. And you can engage in all of your righteous indignation talking about how people need to shut up because it's not really as bad and stop complaining, but people feel like that. So the fact that we're even talking about this, whether it's real or imagined, is the crux of the problem. So it's a threat that I don't really know how the league can fix it, but I also believe they don't have a plan for fixing it. Hell, they probably don't even think they have a problem.
Yeah, they know they got a problem. And Adam Silver is coloring the court to try to fix it. So hey man, y'all can keep this crap up. I'm low key this close away from stop gambling on it. So y'all really gonna start losing all my money. So y'all better get it together, NBA. Because people that's in my boat, man. We're not just talking. We're gonna actually start backing this up by really not supporting this crap. Yeah. So I need to tighten up, man. Because again, like I said, bro, this is about 15 to 20 years away from being defunct as a league, because nobody gives a damn anymore, or it's gonna implode on itself with these dumbass contracts and all this other stuff. So y'all keep playing around with it, yeah, y'all gonna lose everything you had.
That's tough, bro. That's tough. Yeah, man. They what's his face? Joel Embiid. He said that he may need another surgery. And there's people on TV right now, credible people in the media, saying that he should be shut down for the rest of the year and to come back next year.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what he's doing. I just don't. And he's not the only one, but it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. Like, the rate of injury seems to be more now than it ever was before, despite better technology, better medicine, and better resources. Yeah, I don't understand it. Yeah, the NFL bodies, they pile up, but that's a collision sport, so that's more understandable. But guys in the NBA are just breaking and ripping everything every week. And
the guys that love basketball, they play. Yeah, Shea don't get hurt.
He don't. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, because he loves back. He wants to go back out there and play again. And there's other guys out there that just don't get hurt because, well, they want to go play the next day. But these bastards out here, that's all of this other stuff. What they call it? Knee soreness, right ankle soreness. Get out of here, bro. What a abductor. Get the hell out of here, man.
Yeah,
I ain't buying it.
Yeah. Failing grade with the All-Star weekend. It was very disappointing. Shouts out to Tyler Hero, though.
Yeah. Screw, go eat.